Good evening and namaste. I'm Sandhya from Vriddhi Technofarm, and I welcome all our viewers for this monthly talk session on health and nutrition. This month we've come up with one more interesting topic, which is on contamination in food. In specific, about the contamination in one of our superfoods, to say that is fish. Fish is nutritious in multiple ways for us. However, it is food product which is highly contaminated in the market today. So we have eminent nutritionist Dr. Sudarshan Rao with us today, who will explain us more about the contamination and how we can protect ourselves from it, and what we can do to have this nutritious food, but at the same time prevent certain mistakes from our end. Good evening, Dr. Sudarshan.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening and welcome to another episode of Creating Awareness and Nutrition. But today we are going to discuss about the food contamination with special reference to fish and its health impacts. So food has to be safe before we discuss about the protein quality or anything else in fish. It should be safe for consumption. So any food actually it passes through so many stages before it comes to onto your dining table. So that's why we call it a food safety is a collective effort that has to be done because from producer to the consumer various stages it passes through every stage it has to be protected from being contaminated. So, what is food contamination? Actually, as I said, that at various stages of its from the production to consumption, it passes through various places. At every place, there is a chance of contamination, and depending upon various conditions that it goes through. So now it's very well known that around 200 diseases are caused by food contamination. 200 diseases. Okay, and then 1 in 10 every year will fall ill consuming the contaminated food, and a huge number of people are affected. Some of them actually have a very serious impact like cancers, and it can be as simple as like diarrhea, so from diarrhea to cancer. So various diseases are caused by food contamination. So all over the world people are very much worried about food contamination because these days you do not know from where your food is coming. Earlier we were able to understand that where from your food is coming because it is in your
It's more
backyard,
local.
more local. You know the person who is growing it, you know the how he grows it. So those things were known earlier, but now your food is coming from somewhere. From USA also something comes, from USA, Australia also we get something. So we do not know how it is produced, how it is processed, how it is coming. So at various stages it gets contaminated. And as I said that the when we talk about fish, when we come specifically on fish, so fish can be actually from ocean or a sea fish, or even this fresh water also you get. So depending upon the source of your fish, so the type of contamination can vary. Okay,
Okay.
all the water is the actually the best solvent in the world. That means it dissolves everything, almost everything, even gold to some extent it dissolves. So it's a best solvent. So we actually try to wash everything into water. Okay, so all the these things, industrial waste or even municipal like sewage, you must have seen in Coimbatore where it goes your sewage. So somewhere it goes into these water tanks only somewhere. So all those things are actually discharged into water. So and the fish, if we are talking about ocean or sea, the type of things that we actually in the water, the fish will be actually for their food and water, they'll be taking from what that only. So the source of that contamination from their food and their water. So they get ingested into the fish, and nothing happens to fish. And actually, they bioaccumulate these contaminants. The problem is only to people who consume the fish. Okay, so these not only this industrial waste or even sewerage, but even the agriculture, the whatever the chemicals we use, either pesticides or even fertilizers we use in water, actually for farming, they also go into water and they're also discharged into water only. Okay, so all these things are actually create a lot of chemical contamination. There could be three types of contamination that can happen in fish. One is the physical, the second one is the chemical, and third one is the biological. So the concern will be more on chemical contamination. That's because they bioaccumulate in fish, and they actually, when you consume, they go into your system, and there also you are likely to get, take for example, lead or cadmium, these type of contaminations which can come through fish can go into your system. They also will go and sit in your body, and it will have a lot of impact on your health.
Mm.
Okay, so these are the chemical content. Of course, pesticides, pesticide residues can come, even the chemical, like, even PCBs. So polychloride biphenyl. So these are the chemicals actually which come because of the industrial this thing we productions that we do, it various chemicals that get into this, and also the incineration that we do. You must have seen in the street corners of Coimbatore, people will be burning the waste. So
Yeah.
that waste actually they'll create compounds called dioxins. Okay, these are also get into the water. Okay, so all
Mm.
these things will come into water, and that's how the fish gets it. So if it is sea fish, it will have little different types of chemicals that may come into. If it's fresh water, it will be different. But everywhere the contamination is because of the
Discharges done by human
discharges.
beings.
Yeah, discharges from either
Mm.
sewerage or even industrial waste, depending upon the type of the
The type of
location that they are there in. Okay, so the chemical, as I told you that this chemical contamination, especially we are more concerned about the mercury. This is actually the one which actually gets bioaccumulates in fish, and many times we are warning the pregnant women not to consume sea fish, especially when they are pregnant, because this will impact the fetus, growing fetus. Its development gets affected. So
the
there'll be,
mercury in it.
yeah, mercury. And also these PCBs, other things also will have a lot of impact on your immunity, and also it will have effect on your heart, working of the heart. So all these things are actually because of the chemical contamination. So the other one that we generally get is, other than this, is the biological. Okay, so biological is that how actually fish is processed. Even
Mm.
the food handlers is the biggest the people who contaminate fish. You must have seen how fish is caught, and how, what is the
Indeed.
personal hygiene of these people who are actually catch.
Particularly in the open market, it is
Yeah,
being treated very
yeah.
badly.
So the food handlers, the personal hygiene of that, will actually get a lot of pathogens into food, like Staphylococcus aureus or Salmonella typhi or Salmonella enteritidis. These are all the bacteria which actually cause the diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, and all. Sometimes you will have some serious effects also. So this is the biological contamination that can happen.
Mhm.
The third one will be actually the during processing, people also add some chemicals like formalin. Formalin is essentially, you must have heard this many a time when you are
It
actually
comes
buying a
again and
fish.
again
Yeah,
in
because
news.
you do not know how to check whether the fish is fresh or not. So
Yeah,
these chemicals will make look like fresh
make
fish.
it look
Okay, so
fresh.
and also it will also help them to actually this preserve food for some time. Because the fish is highly perishable commodity. That means it has a lot of protein. So these it's a very good media for the bacteria, other things to grow. Okay, so there'll be a lot of spoilage if it actually immediately, if it is not processed properly. So because of this, they'll be using a lot of preservatives. So most commonly used preservative actually is that formalin. Okay, so this actually is a carcinogen. It causes cancer. That's why we are very much concerned about it. And because of these things, okay, you are now, how the fish is likely to get contaminated at various stages because of the processing, because of the personal hygiene of the people, because of the preservatives, I mean the unlawful method they use to preserve the food. And of course, even the ice that they use is not potable. Actually, as per the requirement of food safety, they are supposed to be using the ice prepared from potable water. Okay, you don't,
Correct.
how the water is actually, how ice is used. So even that actually contributes. So at various stages, as you know, from the production to consumption, at various stages, of course, when it comes to your home also, your personal hygiene, your processing of that fish also is equally important, because The safety is till you consume. Okay, so don't think that you once you buy from market that is done it, but at the household level also these things will, because how you actually store it after cooking or before cooking, how you are storing, all those things will impact
And the
the
kind of temperature that
temperatures you are storing it, because time temperature is very important, especially for these
fish.
the highly perishable fishes, because especially as I said it's a perishable product, so you have to be very careful about those things. So how do you do that? What is the alternative? When I say that you must have a lot of this thing fear, that yeah, because the fear of unknown is more dangerous. So once so this fear of unknown can be actually removed. Once if take for example in our own company, that how it actually does it. You have a traceability. You know who is getting it, how it is being. So what is the water being used? What are they actually? Sometimes they also use the antibiotics also. You know because the fish is also likely to get some infections. So to prevent that or to cure these things, they also use antibiotics. And now there is also concern regarding the antibiotic resistance. People
Mhm.
are actually, when you really have this some disease, you take antibiotic, it doesn't work for you, because your body is already has
Yes,
this antibiotic residues in your body, and they are actually not responding. These pathogens are not responding to the antibiotics because you have developed a resistance. So this is another recently developed problem as far as the consumers are concerned. We are more worried about this, because these antibiotics are used while producing this type of yeah,
so
fishes
that
also.
that
Yeah,
requires more and more stronger antibiotics to be given if there is
even
any
yeah,
small.
because that's. And second thing is, some of those things are also not only to, they also given through the feed. So the quality of feed also is very equally important.
Mm.
So how do you actually make sure that the fish that you are eating is safe? So you should have actually somebody actually certifying it, and you know how to trace back where from it has come. You see, if you are buying some fish from the market, you do not know how he has brought, from where he has brought, and how it has actually was grown, what they have used. All that information you will not be knowing. But if we are actually providing that information to tell you that this is how we do it,
Correct.
okay, that is a traceability. You are able to see that where your fish is grown, how it is grown, so what are the things are used, and has it been analyzed for some of the contaminants. You do not know. You see, the person is not adding, but it may be coming from through water, he may not be aware. So
Mm.
unless somebody does the analysis,
Mm.
so whereas this company does all this analysis and ensures that these contaminations are not there in the feed, and they'll give you that the assurance by actually following everything. You are also actually can see the how it is done
Trace it
before
back.
your eyes. Traceability is there, so that will give a lot of confidence. All over the world, people are now are actually looking. If you see that this identification numbers that will be there on the labels are in this thing, so you can actually scan it and try to see where which farmer has grown it and how he has grown. All that information is now available. People are wanting that type of information, so that they are assured that the food, I mean the fish that they are consuming, is safe. So this type of actually the information or traceability is being provided by the VTF, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're glad to hear from what you just conveyed to us, Doctor, because we've been taking utmost care to ensure that this nutrient-rich food should not be left. People should not, like you mentioned, it should, the fear factor should not make them not have it.
yeah,
So, in VTF, we make sure that there is complete traceability about where it is grown. In the first place, the first issue that you had raised, that the contaminants in the water get into the fish. So, at VTF, what we make sure that it is grown in water. They are grown in farms, so you don't have the risk of toxic metals like mercury, lead, or cadmium getting into the fish. Secondly, the entire chain of transportation is handled at 0 to 4 degree, which you had pointed out that temperature is a very important factor to avoid microbes from growing. And another very important point that we take care is about the ice being from potable water, because that's an external factor. We would not even know whether any microbes enter into it if you just buy randomly any ice. and most importantly the process part of it, that is cleaning it and uh, giving it a vacuum pack so that there is no chance of a microbe growing, is being done in a completely air conditioned atmosphere, within 0 to 4 degree. The temperature is consistently maintained up to the point that it reaches a customer. So that way, we are happy that we are following the right steps to ensure that the food reaches to the customer in its most safest form, and at the same time it is completely traceable. So a customer who's connected to us can at any point of time, through our labeling, figure out from which farm is it coming, when did it get harvested, how soon has it reached them. And most importantly, we create awareness in our customers to visually identify whether the fish is fresh. And at the same time, if there is no microbial decay in the flesh, the muscle part of it, it is very obvious from the order. So that's another aspect which we keep creating awareness among our customers to identify the right fish rather than foregoing such a healthy food out of fear. So this is one thing that I would like to convey, that what VTF is taking care of. From the customer's point of view, doctor, I would like to ask. They must be having few questions, so I would just like to ask them. Uh, we know that these toxic metals like mercury is what is one of the most dangerous contaminant in a fish from an ocean. Uh, the obvious question that comes in their mind is, wouldn't this mercury go off in washing or in cooking?
No,
So,
no. It actually, you can't actually decontaminate if mercury is there actually in the fish. Okay, so there is no way. It's the best way is to prevent such type of contamination. That's
yeah.
the only way you can do actually. But once it gets into fish, you can't. Cooking will not take it off, or washing will not take it off. So it will be there in the fish itself.
In other words, it will remain in our body also for long.
Yeah, it will do the damage that we are expecting on health. As I said, that is specifically, I told you that pregnant woman, if they
Hmm.
consume it, so the fetus will get affected. So the developmental changes, I mean, the defects will be there in the fetus. So that type of serious consequences also. That is the reason why sometimes they actually advise pregnant women not to consume fish if they are not very sure of that. So that type of information on the analytical data is also being provided by VTF. That
Yeah.
you, yeah. So the you actually rest assured that these things are taken care by the
And
company. Yeah,
And as a company, we test it. The formalin test is being done. Obviously, there is no preservative being used, but at any point of time, there is a need for the test to be done. That is done. The whole processing area is being audited. They clear these approval parameters, what are needed to ensure that it's a microbial free area. So these tests are being done. That way, we are making sure that whatever reaches the customer is not just nutrient rich, it is safe. Like you have pointed out in the beginning and in your earlier sessions also, today, more than the nutrition that we get from the food, it is a safety part which is more critical today.
yeah. So food has to be safe
So
before we
first,
discuss anything about nutrition.
yes.
Yeah.
So it's a very important parameter, particularly in this busy life today where people do not take out time to find out from where is the food coming.
Yeah. If
Uh,
if the traceability is there perfectly and this analysis is being done, nobody does this analysis otherwise. Actually, if you are actually
mm,
taking some fish from the market, so no, there is no such analysis being done anywhere. Okay, so they'll not be knowing, and the person who actually selling also may not be knowing anything about it, because he'll be
Very
actually
little.
getting, yeah, he may be a middleman mostly, he may not be growing himself.
Correct.
It's a catch he is getting somewhere. So that is very important. That's why we are saying that farm to fork. When we say fork farm, that's a on the dining table. So entire process you should be able to trace it, then only you know that you are assured that this particular fish I am consuming is safe. Otherwise there is definitely the concern, as I showed it. See, fear of unknown is more dangerous. So
Right.
that fear is being removed by this company by putting all the checks and balances for entire process chain till it comes to your doorstep.
Absolutely. And this is what we try conveying to our customers also. Uh, and one second, doctor. I'll just check if we have. I'm checking if there are any comments. Another point I would like to ask, doctor, which our customers would be interested in knowing, um, if they're buying fish which is from the ocean, is there any kind of an indication for them to understand that whether it is contaminated in any kind?
Yeah, that as I told you that especially the toxic metals that we are talking, there's no way unless you analyze. So
Yeah,
physically, with your naked eye or any other
the most dangerous
physical,
ones we
yeah, they
don't even
actually
get
go
to
and
see.
sit in the animal itself. So you just, I mean, that fish itself. So you can't actually. There's no way unless you analyze.
Hmm.
That's the reason why it's all the more important that you are actually sourcing has to be. You should be very clear,
Hmm.
from where it is coming, how it is being grown. That's what we said, that even the feed that they are using, if you are talking about,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
they'll actually be adding antibiotics to the feed itself because to
yeah.
prevent some of the infections coming in. So that also has to be taken care, so that everything has to be under control. Okay, so this control, if it is not there, there definitely there is a concern, and more specifically for this chemical contaminants, which you cannot actually, they are actually bioaccumulate in the fish itself, in the muscle and also liver. So there is no way. I mean, by
Visually, it is
yeah,
only the
it,
order or the color that
yeah, yeah,
tells you if there is a decay. That's
yeah.
all.
That's all. That's a mostly bacterial or biological, but it is doesn't have anything with chemical contamination.
What are the common diseases, doctor, that usually comes with?
Yeah, this was just what I told you, that it can be as simple as that, because if it's more of a biological hazard, like as I said, staphylococcus or salmonella, this type, and you'll have vomiting, diarrhea type of things, which is very acute. That means immediately you will have it within very
Okay.
short period of time.
Mm.
The ones which actually cause a lot of damage to your system will be the ones which go in, like chemical contaminants, which they go into your system and affects your immunity, and some of them will cause cancer. These things happen over a period of time. It doesn't happen overnight.
Mm. Mm.
Okay, so supposing somebody formalin contaminated fish somebody is taking, it's a carcinogen. Okay,
Mm.
this cancer will take some time to grow, I mean, develop into a cancer. Whereas this microbiological contamination, you may get the effect immediately within 10 1 day or 2 days incubation time. You'll have vomiting, diarrhea type of system. But this chemical contamination, which is actually very difficult, because they don't go, as I said, with washing or cooking, and they'll be there in the system, and they go and sit in your body also, and over a
And
period, yeah.
and you don't even get to know till it is
Yeah,
reached
yeah, it will take quite
crisis.
some time. You can't even understand whether the fish you ate had really this one, because after some, yeah,
Yeah, it's
you can't relate.
impossible to connect back.
Yeah, yeah, you
Whether
can't relate it to that. That's what is the, so that is actually the issue. That's why we are more actually creating awareness on these type of things, because once your quality of life is improving, you will have to look into these type of things. Because earlier, see, our life expectancy was hardly 35 years of age. Now we are 70 plus. Okay, so the 70 plus, we are actually are able to live to this extent, is actually we have improved your the facilities and also type of food we eat. But the
mm,
types of diseases that we are getting are like more of NCDs, non-communicable diseases, which take more time to actually precipitate into your system. The
mm,
earlier people were dying even before something like this was happening, because they
mm,
don't know. But now there is enough time for these things to precipitate, because you have a higher life expectancy. So what we are talking, you may live, but your quality of life will not be the same.
absolutely, and we are seeing that many people towards the end of their life are struggling with multiple issues
Yeah.
coming
Yes.
together, and then it is just left, at the mercy of God to see whatever
Yeah. So
happens.
that's what I was trying to say is quality of life that you want now will be actually compromised if you are not taking care of this because food is the one which you are supposed to be taking every day.
Yeah.
Day
So,
and
uh, so it gives a very important message that if we need to maintain a good quality of life till the end, we need to be aware and we need to be careful about what we are having.
yeah.
The little bit of time that is needed uh, to figure out where is the food coming from. I
Yeah.
think everybody should spend that time to identify their source, and when it comes to fish, they have to be extremely careful to see whether it is being handled at the right temperature. Is there any kind of proof being given by the supplier about from where is it coming from, or to, for them to know the source?
Yeah.
So I think it's high time. It's a food which is so much in demand, so it is high time that people have it with real awareness about what could go wrong if they are taking it from wrong source. Uh, Thank you, doctor, for explaining that in detail. While we are doing it, but we feel, uh, satisfied today that, when it comes from someone eminent like you, that this were the right steps that we should have been taking, and we are doing it today. Thank you for the session, and I thank our viewers also. We'll be back with another interesting topic next month. Thank you.
Thank you.